It's time for yarn haul part 2. So if you saw my first edition of this, you already know that I lost my mind and I brought a bunch of drops yarn. Now I had actually already purchased some yarn prior to that haul for a fun project that I wanted to do, and then I did a trip out to Bendigo Woollen Mills. I did mention one of their yarns in my last haul, which I brought online, but I wasn't really happy with the colour. There were a couple other yarns that I wanted to pick up, so I did a whole day trip up there and went to the factory and everything. I didn't take any footage. When I got there, it was definitely not as big as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting this huge factory or something, but it's not. It's a shed, and then the shop was over there, and I'm not gonna lie, let me know if anyone else has visited, and I did not know where the shop actually was. I was walking around and I was where did I purchase the yarn for? And I'm looking around the corners and into things, and people looking at me weirdly, and then I realized oh, there's a little prefab school classroom size building over there that's where the yarn is at. Now my whole purpose of going up to Bendigo Woollen Mills was to see if there was any alpaca yarn there. There was some, but it wasn't what I was after. There was some small balls. I can't remember what the ply was on it. I don't even know if it said what weight the yarn was, but there were small 50-gram balls, and they were kind of pricey. And I almost brought some of them, but then I changed my mind. I was no, it's not quite right for the project, and I don't even know how much I'd have to buy. To be honest, I would have just been guesstimating. And then they did have a couple balls of their 50-50 wool and alpaca, which felt really, really nice, and that was their big balls, this size ball, and it was in a light beigey camel-y kind of color, and it wasn't for that specific project I was thinking of. I was going to make a shawl, and I was really looking for a dark color, so I didn't end up picking up any of the alpaca. So that trip was a little bit kind of disappointing in a way, because that's the main reason I went all the way out there. There was a long ass train ride both ways. I think it was 2 and a bit hours each way on the train, but it was all in all a fun day. I got to see Bendigo, which I've never been to before, to be honest. I walked past a TAFE, and there was just a bunch of students around, and that's my only impressions of Bendigo. I did stop by a really good bagel shop though. I can't remember what it's called, but it was tasty. So yeah, it was a fun day trip, and I did need to pick up some yarns anyway, so it was nice to go there and see the colors in person, and because they have swatches, big swatches for most of the yarns, so it was nice to be able to kind of hold it up against your skin and feel it and be yeah, maybe. So yeah, so I picked up a bunch of Bendigo yarns, and then I did also place an order for Knitting for Olive. I'm so excited to have some Knitting for Olive yarn. Everyone's Knitting for Olive, it's the best. But yeah, they had some free shipping on their website, and it is much, much cheaper to buy directly from their website. They charge you in Australian dollars and all that jazz. I got free worldwide shipping for my order, so that was great. They do occasionally do sales as well, so you just got to weigh up whether or not the shipping or the sale is going to be the better option for you. I only brought a very small quantity, so free shipping was definitely the better choice for me. But it is way, way cheaper than if I was to buy it from an Australian stockist of Knitting for Olive, which there are only a couple of. So let's talk through everything that I purchased. We'll start with our Bendigo yarns. So first up is this one here. So this is the Bendigo Woollen Mills Whisper. It is their 8-ply merino wool. I'm pretty sure it's still super wash. Yes, it says warm machine wash, gentle cycle. So super wash merino wool. This feels so nice. Compared to the Drops extra fine merino, which is their superwash merino, there's a night and day difference. The Drops yarn feels kind of almost cold and kind of slick to the touch, whereas this still feels really nice and warm and cozy, and it's so nice and like super soft, super luxurious. Really happy with this particular one. I have already started working with it and I love it. I want to buy more for other projects. I really don't need to buy any more yarn. I have enough, as we're already determined based on these yarn hauls. But I would definitely buy this particular yarn again in a heartbeat. They only have a limited color range and the colors are kind of like not quite the right tones for what I'm looking for, but I might pick up some more in maybe black for a project. Before, I think it's a limited edition run, I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. It's lovely. So this is in the color, what color are you? So the color for this one, it is number 2512 Champagne. I think I already mentioned it is 8 ply, so like your DK weight. So this costs me $22.95 Australian per ball. Totally worth it. These are large balls, so these are 200-gram balls. So if I break that down to like a 50-gram skein, this would be $5.74 per 50-gram ball. So definitely worth it. I've used this, I'm actually pairing this yarn with one of my dropped yarns that I purchased last time, which was the Kid Silk Mohair in the color light beige. So I'm pairing these two together for my Arctic Light sweater, which is a pattern by Kuto Akika. So like I said, I've already started working on this particular piece and I love this combo. It feels really nice and silky and soft and like warm and luxurious. And like even this yarn by itself, there's, like I say, another pattern that I've got in my mind that's actually meant to be held with a mohair, but I'm not sure if I want to put the mohair with it because this is so nice on its own, that I might just maybe knit up a jumper in this alone, but love it. So that's the first thing that I purchased. The second yarn that I picked up is from Bendigo Woollen Mills, their luxury 4-ply, which is just 100% machine washable wool. So they've got like their classic range and then they've got their luxury range. So this is the luxury wool. To me, it kind of feels the same. Like when you feel the swatches in the store, you can feel a difference, but in the actual ball, like I can't tell like really a difference between the green yarn that I purchased, which is like the classic, and this black one, which is the luxury, but this one's meant to be like softer and nicer. And if I look at the shade card swatches that I picked up, this just seems to be like more loosely twisted, so it has like a more fluffier like appearance on the shade card anyways, which is like a tiny strand of a swatch. But yeah, I brought this in the number 304, which is black, and I got two of these balls. These were $19.95 each, again the 200-gram balls, so it would be $4.99 per 50 grams. So was this actually more expensive than, no it wasn't, it was not even $1. This is not even $1 more per 50 grams than this. Like this is such good value for money. But anyways, this one I plan on making another version of my ribbed tee, which is a pattern by Knitting for Olive. So I have already half done, or I've done the yoke section of one ribbed tee, but I was using different yarn and I decided there were too many things that I didn't quite like about it. So I was like, I'm just going to start it again and buy some bit of yarn. So I've gone for a superwash option, given that the ribbed tee is a very fitted garment. I just felt like having something that was machine washable might be a slightly better choice. And this is just, I guess, a better quality yarn than what I was previously using. So excited to have this. I don't have any plans to cast that on anytime soon, but I would have liked to have kind of cast that on straight away because I had already started on one. But anyways, we've got that. Last thing that I picked up from Bendigo, this is slightly different to the merino. The colors are very similar though. So this is the, what is it, cotton 8-ply. So it is 100% cotton and I have this in the color 887 latte. Brought 3 balls of this. They are $17.95 per ball. If we break that down to 50-gram lots, it's $4.49. And I brought this yarn to actually make the Salty Days sweater by Kuto Akika. Now, look, because I've got some experience with her pattern now, you'll know she's going to feature a lot today, but I'm not sure that I really want to make the Salty Days pattern. I haven't purchased the pattern yet, and just given the amount of issues I'm having with the Arctic Lights sweater that I'm making, I don't know if I want to buy another pattern of hers, to be honest. But I have purchased this yarn before I purchased the pattern, so the Arctic Lights pattern, so I don't really know what else to do with this particular yarn, and I just feel like that particular sweater, although it's meant to be knit in like a wool, because it's like a lace pattern, I thought it could do well with like a cotton yarn. I've not knit in cotton before, so it'll be a little bit of a trial and error, but I've got enough here to, I think, make a size large, which was probably a size larger than I was intending to make for my, or when it's recommended. But I hear that cotton can stretch quite a lot, so I'm a little bit like unsure on that. But that's what I brought this yarn for. That's what I intend to make with it, because I don't have any other ideas on what I could use this yarn for. I probably am still going to make the Salty Days sweater, although I don't know if I would end up recommending it. So that's everything that I picked up from Bendigo Woollen Mills. Next up, we've got some kind of like budget yarn that I purchased. So Kuto Vakika is featuring yet again. So before I placed all of my drops yarn orders and everything like that, I had purchased a bunch of different coloured yarn from a couple different retailers. This is just acrylic yarn, and I wanted to use all this yarn to knit the stripe hype sweater. And the reason why I picked this particular pattern is because I was just at a point where I had a lot of projects on my needles, and I wanted something fun to knit that I could challenge myself to knit super quickly, because I know a lot of people are like, I knit this sweater in a week. Now, I don't think I would be able to knit a sweater in a week, but I was like, I wonder if I can get this done in a fortnight. And people say because of the stripes, it's very like potato chippy and it's easy to get through. But I didn't know what kind of colors to go for, and to be honest, I don't know if I would wear a striped jumper. So I was like, I'm going to buy some cheap yarn and just do a fun time-based challenge knit, and basically I'll probably end up gifting it. If I do end up liking the fit and everything like that, then eventually I might buy some better quality yarn and do like a very neutrally toned striped jumper. But for the time being, we had all this coloured yarn, and I went out of my way to go pick up all this yarn because I was going to like cast it on, but then I did my drops order, and then I instead made the bronze summer sweater. That was the one that I chose instead to time challenge myself on, and I ended up making that one in like 15 days or 16 days, but it was larger needles than the stripe pipe, which is why I opted for that drops one. And also I was excited to use that drops yarn and new yarn. And anyways, this yarn that I've got here, so I've got them in different colors. So this is the Maker DK 8 ply yarn. It's 100% acrylic, DK weight. So most of these I brought from Lincraft, which is like your kind of stock standard craft store here. I went to one in town and it was like really small. It was really limited options. But I got, this one is going to be like my main color, and it is in ivory. So I brought 4 of these balls. These are all 100 grams each, by the way, and all of them, these Lincraft ones, cost me $2.25 each, so very, very affordable. So I got 4 of these, and then I got one in navy. We got peach pink, which is just a very vibrant corally orange in real life. This one in sky. I actually, when I looked at this online, it looked a little bit more muted, and when I saw it in real life, I was like, oh, she's a bit vibrant, but there weren't any other like alternatives, so I was kind of like, I don't know. And then we've also got a lilac one here, this purple. And then I also intended to get a pink from this range as well, but they didn't have it in stock. And so I sat on it for a little bit, like a couple weeks. I reckon if it was in stock, I might have actually cast this on and had done my like little time-based challenge. But they didn't have it in stock, and I kept checking the website periodically, and then eventually, instead of it just being like there but like shaded out as being not in stock, they started removing quantities of yarn, so the like color range was shrinking down and it just wasn't even visible online. And so then I got a little bit concerned that maybe they were like getting rid of this line of yarn or going to change something. And so I popped over to Spotlight, and I got a pink. So this one is the Four Seasons Marvel, again 8-ply 100% acrylic DK weight yarn. This is in the color 1012 pink. This one was still on sale. I didn't mention that all those other ones were on sale as well. That's kind of why I like sprung on it as well, because they were like half price or something. This one wasn't quite half price, but it was $3.15, so still very, very affordable. So basically the whole sweater quantity of yarn I think cost me like $20 or $25. So it's going to be a cheap knit. I don't think it's something that I'm going to like keep. It's just going to be a fun knit. But now that I've got so much freaking yarn, I'm more excited about every other project that I want to knit on. So this cheap yarn's kind of been sidelined and it's just sitting in my stash now. But eventually I will make it, because I have already brought the pattern for it too. I've got fluff on my lip. Yeah, I forgot to mention that I have already brought the pattern. So I haven't actually read through that pattern to know if there's any like errors or anything like that, but it seems like it's a pretty basic construction. So, and like the Arctic Light ones, most of the errors you kind of can pick up on, you're like, that's not quite right. My concern's more around like fit of the piece. But the main reason I actually brought the Arctic Light sweater as well is because I did mention in like my 2024 what I want to kind of make this year, that I wanted to kind of do a striped drop shoulder sweater, but like it was inspired by someone else's inspired by pattern, so that it's not like a pattern that exists for it. And I'm like, I need to follow a pattern, but then I just want to modify the stripes to match kind of the design element of the inspiration. Anyways, this is one of the reasons why I brought the stripe hide, because I was like, I can do a really fun knit with it and see if it's like a good fit, and then if I like it, then I can make it work for the other yarn that I have in my stash for the different type of stripes, whatever. But I don't know now. But anyways, I have the pattern, so we're going to make it. We're going to see if we can make it work. Now, lastly, in my stash of yarn, I feel like I'm flying through this one, which is great. We have some Knitting for Olive yarn. I think this is the one that I'm most excited for, because everyone hypes up Knitting for Olive. Everyone uses Knitting for Olive, and so many patterns use it as well. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like goals achieved, because now I'm also going to use some Knitting for Olive, and so I'm so very excited. So the first one I'll talk about is the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Now these balls are freaking tiny, okay? Look how like small they are. I mean, I guess these, I don't have any comparisons. Give me a second. This is like, oh, this is a DK weight. Do I have a fingering weight? Yes, I do. So here's like a fingering weight drops yarn, and then here's, I don't know where to hold it because I'm wearing black and the yarn is black. But yeah, this is a tiny, tiny little ball. I was so surprised of how small this little ball of yarn is. It's also very, very thin. It's meant to be, I think, a light fingering is what it's classified as, but like it's very, very thin yarn. So I wasn't expecting them to be so teensy tiny and cutesy. But, you know, a lot of patterns recommend this yarn, and all of the patterns that I'm going to make, this is the yarn used in the sample. So I have confidence that the pattern's going to work out. But yeah, first of all, I brought 2 balls of the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color Coal. So yeah, they call it 3-ply fingering. So light fingering, I don't know. And I got this for $12.90 per ball. A comparison price point would be from Sunspun, which it's $19 per ball there. So quite a significant price difference. It's like $5 cheaper to buy it directly from Knitting for Olive. And I was lucky enough to get free shipping as well. So bonus. So that's kind of why I brought it, even though it is a splurge. But then also you only need like such a small quantity. Anyways, the pattern that I plan on making with this is going to be the camisole number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I have already made one of these, and I did use a silk yarn from Temu, which again it was even it was actually I think thicker than this, and I ended up holding like 3 strands together because like I couldn't meet gauge, and it just looked like super duper gapey, and I wasn't like really happy with how gapey it looked. So I knit with like 3 strands together, ran out of yarn, had to buy more yarn to finish my piece, and it's just like super duper heavy because I've knit with 3 strands together, and so I had to use so much yarn. So I don't wear that piece, and I don't fully love it. And knowing that it is cheap yarn, I was like, I'm actually going to invest in like the proper yarn for this pattern and remake it in the suggested yarn and hope that I like it better. And this actually works out cheaper than my Temu piece is going to cost me because I ended up holding so much yarn together, basically. But I was like, I feel really stupid now because you think that you're getting a better deal by buying like Temu yarn, but really, if I just use the suggested yarn, it works out better. Like, I'm a dumbass. Anyways, now I've spent twice as much on the same top that I don't even know if I'm going to end up wearing it. But we've got some more. So, keen to use that because I know a lot of people say it's like average to work with, but really nice as a like end garment. The next 2 Knitting for Olive yarns I've got are both the cotton merino. So it's 70% cotton, 30% merino wool. Again, the same kind of 3-ply fingering weight yarn. And for this one, I got the first one is in the color mole. What a color name. I think it's based on like, is there an animal called a mole? But when you say mole, I think of like a mole on your face, but I don't know, it's an ugly color name. Anyways, it's in the color mole, which is this nice kind of brownish tone here. So I brought 4 balls of these. These cost me $11.20 each. Price comparison from Sunspun again would be $17 per ball. So again, just the price difference is significant between what we can get here in Australia versus if you buy direct from Knitting for Olive. So yeah, much, much cheaper. And with this, I plan on making the Sunshine Tee by Andrea Gowan. And I picked this particular color because I saw another creator here on YouTube. She also made this top in this particular colorway, and I really like the look of it. And so I'm going to copy her, and I brought the exact same color. Now, a knitted t-shirt is not something I ever thought that I would make, because for me that just goes against the concept of a t-shirt. T-shirt's meant to be like summery and lightweight. So yeah, I don't really know what happened there. This is like really showing the extent of my madness. Not only have I brought enough yarn to last me like 3 years worth of projects, I'm also making things that I never thought I would end up making. But feeling this yarn, it's yeah, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it once it's done. Again, people really rave about this yarn. It's been like amazing. It is very thin, so I kind of feel like even though it's going to be a knitted t-shirt, it's going to work. And I'm thinking it might have more of a corporate feel to it, is what I'm hoping. It might be like something that I can pair with some like nice tailored pants. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll eventually get around to making that. I'm kind of excited, but also I'm like, am I going to wear it? The next one that I brought was the colorway Dusty Blue Whale. Now, this one I was really concerned about buying because the color online, it looked fairly similar to like what it looks like in the camera now. I think it looks a little bit more vibrant in the camera than it does in real life. But I was looking at some projects, and again, I think it was like Nee Knits who knitted a top in this color, and she was literally like wearing the top or like holding the top up in her screen. And then she had a picture of the yarn and the colors just looked night and day different. Like her top looked like a really light blue, well, not light, but like a much lighter color blue. And the picture looked like more of like leaning navy. And this is like, yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit more like, I think, vibrant in the camera. I don't know if this is the right color for me, but I don't know if the cotton merino line seemed a little bit limited, and it was really the only other color that I gravitated towards of the range. So anyways, I brought this. I got 3 balls, same price, and I'm going to make the square neck camisole in this color, and it's a pattern by Helene Bieber. So again, yeah, we'll see how that one kind of turns out. I think this is a good yarn choice for something like a camisole, but I'm just, yeah, the color I'm in 2 minds about. Again, this might be like more of a work top piece where I put like a blazer on over top and hopefully it looks nice, but yeah, something that I'll probably get to. I'm excited to knit with these yarns. So I have already done like a little swatch with the silk. I've knitted like a little back triangle as like my gauge swatch. I didn't really have any issues working with it. I do have metal needles and I find it is a little bit slippery, but I haven't worked with the cotton merinos yet. So I'm excited to cast on one of those tops. I think I'm a little bit more excited for the t-shirt over the singlet because I like the color better, but then I would get more practical use out of the singlet. So we'll see which one I end up casting on first. And if you are interested to see what I do cast on, make sure you do those YouTube things and subscribe and whatnot, because I do regular monthly updates. So you'll see what I'm working on pretty much in real time. And then I do project vlogs for majority of my projects as well. So you'll get more in-depth thoughts around like all of the yarns and everything that I've used when I do my project vlogs on these particular pieces. But that is everything that I have purchased. I think I've gone through all of the yarns. I have literally like 3 bags of yarn that I don't even have space to store. Like I think I have to shove it under the couch or something like that because I just don't have enough storage space for all this yarn. It's just gotten a bit ridiculous. So I've got plenty of pieces to keep me busy throughout this year and next year and probably the year after. So I'm going to try really, really hard not to buy any more yarn and just make the things that I've intended to make, because all of the yarn that I've purchased, everything I like purchased with a pattern in mind. So we need to get on to making these things before we buy any more yarn. But I'm not going to lie, I know that that Whisper yarn from Bendigo Mills is, I'm pretty sure it's limited edition run, so I'm kind of keen to buy the black whilst I can get my hands on it. But then, to be honest, by the time I actually end up knitting something with it, it'll probably go away, and then they'll probably like release another limited run of it, because I know it existed in the past as well. So do I buy more yarn? I don't know. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this quick update. And like I say, do those things if you want to stay updated. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.